I seek refuge in God, the sublime, all-knowing of us, the accursed Satan. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, and in him we seek help. May peace and blessings be upon Muhammad and his good and pure family. God is the originator of the world. Muhammad and his family and hasten their recovery with security. We will gather at evening for the 5th in Darwinian evolution research. We said that the subject of research is the evening until 5, but we must also get to know the system so that we know which one we are talking about. He reminded us that these 4 and 5 evenings there are multiple positions and trends in the position on them. Some of them are like the disease of Jansma. I think that even in the evening until 5 o'clock also, because we need a creator. Rather, it contradicts my theory because there is a creator for it, so that is why I am. Some of them before the evening for the first 4, but he did not accept what? In the evening at 5 o'clock, he said, no, this is not inconsistent, but rather it requires what? It needs a creator, otherwise a creator, or else an engineer for this world. Some of them did not accept. I assumed 3 or 2 questions from the 4 questions presented, but before what? Some of them rejected it altogether. Say, never, never, we do not accept. We do not accept that humans are from a first cell. We do not accept that it is the opposite of what is in the contention. We do not accept that the person who acquired the gene can transform into another species. We do not accept that one type can rise to my level. We all accept. This is very normal. These are all normal issues. And so yesterday I promised to Ho. I said that I would read a set of words, each of which indicates the direction from these directions that we indicated. Come with us to the International Arabic Encyclopedia, My Condolences, Volume 1, page 311, to the right column and the left column, Maulana. There is this phrase, my dears. He says most biologists believed for a long time that every species of life remained unchanged. I mean, what is the 4th issue? It makes it difficult to change, transform, and integrate the gene-based species. And God is upon him alone, and it does not happen. This is a blessing for religious scholars, but it is a consolation for biologists, because science has the status and development of scholars of paradise and while other than that. Therefore, I believe that these things have melted away without changing. No new revelations appeared regarding Calican. This leads to the 2nd issue, which is that the stars reproduce and whether they increase or do not increase. Not increasing. What a difficult situation. But scholars and living people began to doubt these beliefs. So the question is where it started from biologists. During the late 12th century he fell out of favor. And it's a shame where to start from the world of plants. From the botanist he found that through some processes new species could be created. They noticed that farmers produced new varieties of plants and animals through selective breeding. He is the one who evaluates you. This revenge is sometimes natural and follows special rules and laws of the environment and circumstances. What is optional? This could be linked to mutagenesis. This is related to the science of perpetrators. What happens to the gnome? This is a birth mutation. In addition, the discoveries showed a group of isolates from plants, and the observations led some biologists to believe that they were isolated. Temperatures change over time. Is this Muslim the 3rd to which we have given 10? It is that one type of species can change to another, and that some types evolved, that is, gradually from other types. This is meant by the type in biology that we have mentioned. At the beginning of the 19th century, the scholars came to Darwin and the theories of what? Darwin. Sama moves in a condolence slap after that shows that the natural fear is with him and the brother can review and address our justice in less time. The second resource is my condolences. In the 10th volume of Al-Musawa, the International Arab Encyclopedia. Volume 10, page 1226. Right column. Darwin's theories caused great shocks to all those living in his time. If people still believe, it turns out that God has created every type of life in a way that is independent of all others. God is my creation, meaning the fifth issue. Each type of independent means the negation of what? He denied that it was Khalil, Dadarja, became, and kind of, and it turned to us as an I. This whole group of religions will create what? With this freedom. Be in my world. I mean, the phenomena indicate, let's say, all of them by what? He responded. He says that God created him and that his book, which is called He Issued, has raised some reactions because it contains opinions that question beliefs. Heavenly Mola. A point where he slept or not. On the other hand, this theory has brought to light that the brothers can also review the manuscripts. The third resource, my condolences, the International Arab Encyclopedia, Volume 5, pages for Thamiya and 60 Kamseen, the security column, my condolences. The exaggeration. The exaggeration. And I hit him. Embryology. Genetic factors make it impossible to convert one species into another. These are in contrast to the theories of Darrow. Whoever says that now and his uncles say that the cause in our time, in the place of the knowledge of the Agni, has reached this level, but now I have sinned that it is possible or not that a genetic mutant can be modified into a genetic mutant, what? There may be some changes. The gene for the conscious species may contain changes and developments in the same breed. But what is the mutant of the gene? To other types they say this is not possible. This is after, God Almighty willing, when we single out the instant, the Darwinian theory of evolution, this is more explanatory. Only I am willing to give you the vision, uncle. He says it is impossible for two species to evolve into another. Because there are genetic factors lurking in the cells of each species that preserve the castration of the species and can never go away. And how many times do you see the yawn leave it in a person? What can this all go away what? All of them are a group of paradise. The collection of the entity in the what level? The gene. They are all there. This is subject to disappearance, and in contrast, he says, it is subject to disappearance, according to the world of Do. A fragment of the species from which we originate is destroyed, and the pieces of the species do not come out and do not develop into two new species. This is closed. After this, science continued normally. Hassan means this ambiguity. And we became this. With that, there is nothing but recklessness. So I hit the spot and hit the spot. And he will remain on the beat. Al-Tafjan. Leave your right hand. God willing. This is my street for homes. Fifth. The dog, the bull, the horse, the monkey, and the human. And whenever possible. The exaggeration. And whenever possible, according to the theory of inheritance, the world of Do can occur. It is to rise within the limits of one type. Without moving to two types. Last. This is a bad issue. The fourth one we mentioned. To him. What I don't know is clear. And this. It is a God of effects. It is a God of effects. Because. If we accept. This is beyond research. If we accept. That for every level of human being. This is a special law. So how do I write a dissertation? The Sharia law was revealed 1,400 years ago. If this species evolved until after 5,000 years. It's so advanced. If it is the case of the first two. Would it be a case? And if you say. How so? And if you say. Not enough. If the spring is sealed, it will not reach its righteousness. What I don't know is clear, Yonah. It is here. From here came the theory of some Islamic thinkers. Assassin said. Sharia to the point where his mayor dispensed with prophethood. He established the meaning of al-Khatami. This means that after the prophet there is no other prophet. Why is this? Not that the human beings need another prophet. But God has yet to abolish it. He does not want them to seek his servants. He says, you still need and you do not need. Exhaust rara. We mentioned the example, we said, the first child who wants to walk, I don't like it. What if you hold my hand and teach him to walk after that? If you announce walking after that, he needs someone to hold you in my hand from us. What and why should I get on? This helps with this or explains the Sharia in an explanation. According to what we say, it is one. The type that reached it after the theoretical clarity, so that its roots are above the G. This is what we found, the last place, the place for a distance in the slap of a non-Muslim, 7050, the volume, 5. 20 columns, to any of my dear ones. The reality is that these new explorations indicate that the human being of upright stature who walks on a stoop did not evolve from you. The most beginning ever is Mulan dies. All you say is the science of paleontology. Come with us for the science of paleontology. We see that this human being is upright and who it radiates now. This has a history before 10-3-2021.5010. It has its history 2 million years ago. Mulan ha-Yazbat. He says that Yazbat is a human being who radiates jinn. Of course, according to the view of Abd al-Sabur Shaheen. This is a human being with human beings. Mulan says to him, this is human. This is not human. If you spread doubts, you will not be human. This is a theory after all. It is all a theory. It is not possible to reach because the results of these brothers are reviewed. I am still required to do so. If I want a village, it may be time to return. On the mind, and it is the fifth issue, Causa Kmina Max. We said, does the theory of evolution in its 4 ways correlate with the negation of the existence of a creator, or does it correlate with the dissolution of the existence of a creator, or does it not hold true and does not negate the materialistic? What does he say? This correlates with the negation of the existence of a creator. After what if this is proven, while the theory of evolution is proven, then a created matter does not need a foundation that negates its need. What is this, a property of matter? What do the owners of the theory of design say, what does he say, or in the expression of our theology, what is this with the logic of systems? Or the proof of the systems will come later, God willing. I will show you that this proof or this system or systems is a proof. If the evidence of the person of knowledge does not accept that this is a proof, but rather considers it what the evidence of the system says, this is an argument. Who is better in distraction and not a proof? This is research on which we will stop, God willing, if they agree, because this is one of the most important pieces of evidence on which the Quran was based, and Sayyid Shaita stated in the Logical Foundations that the most important proof of proof is that God has found God in paradise. Here is the system for us, but in a way that he relies on the basis of inevitabilities based on his research. It comes if there are two trends. The first side believes that what is my condolences is that it denies the existence of God, as we said. This is the materialistic trend, which believes in the eternity of matter and the properties of matter that created this system in the world. The other direction says that there is a substance that has the existence of a creator. From here, I want to stand up to the challenges that direct my theory. What is the theory of evolution? My condolences, of course not. I forget to read, I am intoxicated by the glory of the Master, the nature, God. Almighty has mercy on him in Ibarat here in Al-Mizan, Volume 4 144. He did not accept even the fourth issue is superior to the first, second, or third issue. What was the fourth issue? What is it that in the single species here he says this is a statement of his after mentioning Darwin's theory of the evolution of the nuclei, which must be called clear, he says, and this is a hypothesis that we assume to direct the properties and effects attached to these nuclei without evidence, and he denied their antagonism, saying hypothesis with as a hypothesis, but there is a night on it, and we come to the conclusion of Thibetian. And of course this talk is not directed at that in his high time, but in his time, because there is a lot of evidence that says that the theory of evolution after the 1980s, when embryology and the science of engineering came into line, Darwin's theory became confused. What will be new in your world? Yes, between the two wars. Al-Alamiya 4 years occurred lightness. What is the lightness of this meaning, God willing, after that we will read to you from the book Asl and Aladrin condolence to me translated Ismail Madhar or Mathar I don't know Ismail Madhar, for God's sake show yes, it exists, it exists. It is easy translate because I am this is Mulan this translated the basic that I because he is an expert in this area Ismail Madhar or Mathar I don't know I may have you with control. Not their world show there, he says, we may have doubts that you are an untruthful book by Muaddi Fullan, which has produced a great impact, like the book of Isaac Yet, Mulan to the principles, and this is to print thinking, so it is not then an expression for the research of the dead, and that man is an animal, but rather considers that to be the reason for thinking. And then he reaches a conclusion saying that he wrote about the modern non-existence of Mulan, which has entered the history of the widest of their chapters, because this issue is now with modern science. If you remember the science of an engineer, we pointed out some science. This revived the theoretical Ajani. I found new evidence on it. What is this according to the theory of Darwin? Syed Altabai, a hypothetical statement, but it is more appropriate that we do not accept that one species turns into another species, but from an atom of a simple cell it becomes what species, but we also do not accept the evolution of the species on one, the evolution of what is fundamentally influencing the number of what our master Al-Tabajida accepts. He says, although these luminaries are different from the lack of connection between them in evolution, this is a sign of what to the Psalms on the third to which we have mentioned and limited the evolution of our Lord. What amount of evolution do you accept and limit evolution to the states of these luminaries without their essence? Evolution means gozel, essentially, ezel, joja, and other than the phrase, we would have read it. What is it from the World Arabic Encyclopedia that it does not now say that it is possible for a single species in the gene repository to develop a very large paper evolution? It tells the story of the development of its states and without itself, and it is the one in which the experiments were abstracted. The experiments did not deal with an individual of this species transforming into an individual of one species from another, as it led to a human being. This is based on the concept that is believed to be the ape and the offspring of this human being, and we said that this statement is true. Not true, but the advice is interesting, but it is not true. This is Al-Zain, and what he says about it is not accurate. He says he did not deal with the experiment. He did not take up the experience. An individual of an ape turned into an individual from a human. Qudi tells them to us that he will transform in 1 billion years. Shuni will rise to the throat of Mulan. This is if he imagines that he will fall in 50 years. He will be dead in a year. He will die in a year that will give birth from a year. He says that it is contrary to the year of Mulan. The ape in Africa has not turned into a paradise. This is a traitor to the theory. This is every dyad. Medea says the monkey's saying has become a human being, and secondly, Medea, the saying that he changed what in a dead year and a year old that and that he is a Medea that changed in 500 million years. Asa Ali. For about yes, some of the lights in terms of their properties and their attributes and their width. Then science says that it does not help with that. This is the illusion of this and itself, this word. If you remember, we said that Abd al-Sabur Shaheen Azizi, on page 241, referred to the theory. This is a conclusion they came up with. As for Adam and Adam's relationship with the creatures that existed before him, the earth knew this creation. He is the one who has been dazzling on its surface for millions of years, so if the human beings have a history of 10,3 years, 50,000 years, why for the million years, why for us? So if they are surprised that he is like fossils, they say that man has been alive for millions of years. Do not destroy man, and that he is of what he is, and that he is human. The soul of a human being may be afflicted with its disease, so they walk on abs hana on all fours. That is to say, if there are 4 toes of humanity, then there is no humanity. What is there in the radiant of a second or in a radiant that has 4 molars? They said, a human being in Beijing is a human being in Java. A human being is a human being. Kenyan and so on, because this whole private history is mixed with pride, all of it is one kind of madness, or all of it. Developed in the use of the word human being in and in the morning and not only for the sake of expansion, otherwise the word al-Daqiq is the eloquence of the Quran, which should be used in nomenclature in the division of the nouns of this ancient creature that the events refer to. It is al-Bashar and not what, of course, an oversight, saves, more than one of the Quranic verses, that it is a door, that it is God, glory be to the hearing of this human being, the insanity that Bashar Ali heard, except above that a human being gets fed up, so the meaning of the Quran is not used except for that creature. The one who speaks of monotheism and worship, and who begins with the existence of Adam and Apple Adam. We return to being a human being. The stomach of a human being is an assignment to our stomach. That bee is prepared. We want to prepare our stomach. It also hates other things. Well, come with us. Except for the theoretical, if they are destroyed, we say that it is theories of piety. The radar. Where am I in the evening? De Bez, who said inexplicable complexity, we said that based on the gradual integration of this Dowie surface and the burdens and functions, then it is necessary that this eye is this dark over millions of years until it reached what is this, not all that it was grazing and not grazing and not grazing. This is what challenged the first, which we said, and he said in the last one. He said, And that this is one of the basic gaps facing what did you theorize? The last new challenge for this new challenge. My condolences, and it is this. Clear your mind. How much my condolences is this book? The origin of the genre Dara. The book is ours. Every matter is from Dara because he worked on it for no less than a period of a year, as he says in the Muqaddim, my condolences. In the introduction, I stopped the book. Introduction to 2870. It is important, my condolences. I found the history of his words from the oldest images to the present day. The peculiarities of the theory. The developments of the theory. What was now and when I arrived. He wished. 2770, you stand on the complete picture there on page 57. He says a complete summary of his statistics. The results that he achieved over the course of 20 years as a missionary mission. In the original type of my condolences, if they remember, we said, who returned from the ship, Big Maulana 73, to 189 years, which is 20 years old, and he says that the majority leave history through the back door, and do not stay for a little while until the waves of time submerge them. As for him, he walked around with the book, The Origin of Species, in his hand, one of the few who entered history through its front door and did not leave stealthily, but rather entered history with its front door open to my struggle, and I believe it will remain, because he is one of the defenders of Oman. These are the defenders of the theory with its 4 advanced issues, to which we have mentioned the importance of this book. As for Maulana, I have mentioned 2 hadiths of al-Tafchili, I condole you, I have mentioned 2 hadiths on page 40. Clear your mind carefully. This new challenge that is afflicting the theory. What is Darwinism? Darwin was defeated, but it was a victory that was not decisive and was not conclusive. A sectional analysis. Why, except that the idea, after it had been sustained by the forced labor of evolution, was an unstable mess, and a long time had passed before it was realized, before the majority of people realized that Nadaran, in his research, dealt with science in the era after the era and before. What do they mean? Hebron is alive before Hebron is alive. This is an omission that is not found in any city, because the city imagined that we would manage what would solve the problem of evolution. From what point of the stagnant tide until man reaches the highest level after that mutual reconciliation, we will manage their beginning from there if he begins after Hebron, and from here there are provisions and heavy burdens on those who say, what is the matter with the city of the city and denying him and denying the Creator? We say, here. The deaf person who stood in front of me because he is one of the believers in the existence of God, from him hears the thirsty, and who for this expresses Shushan and thinks only an expression that says that in his research he dealt with science in the era after Hebron, which is the basis of life in all its forms. But he did not present the research in the era before Hebron in order to know how life was created in those forms and how matter was transformed, other than life into matter. Of the human beings, if he saw Kadu before us, Al-Madin was satisfied that she started from what he started from. Did Darwin go? What did she step before that? She said, no, basically, the range other than life evolved and became what range. And this is what he expressed about it. What about self-generation or the property of range, a clear source? As E.G. turned to them and said, it is the foundation of life in all its forms, but he did not submit to research in the era before Hebron to know how life arose in that simple image, because it began in my theory. Who are you? It began starting from a simple Khalil, Azi, and from what abyss that might have led to the doubt of the structure of life. Who made of inanimate matter a life of a speech that occurred to all the honorable ones, i.e., it grew, whatever they heard or saw, my glory occurred. Before you go to research, Mazarid went around and searched. In this dilemma, is the dilemma, and I am covetous about what I say. I am certain that this is a dilemma that is not solvable, so be patient, and your people who claim to have solved it to the dilemma, meaning you said from inanimate objects to what to life. After that, I will read to you their expressions. How do they speak? Do they claim to have solved this problem, or that they have not solved it? This problem is faltering. Is he when the materialists felt that their approach was not decisive and conclusive? No, the original challenger. Is he, here and a point and the here and there, and that a point and a point and that life, and if you wish, life is the rock on which the foundations of materialism are shattered, O materialism, which says that there is no need for the Creator. They said in the form of the divine and the material, and they said of the property of matter and that matter by the reactivity of its chemical origin, and so on, it was transformed by chance into what? Into a life being, otherwise a simple cell here, God Almighty willing, in the upcoming research in the coming weeks. I will stand with you that if you want a non-material cell to transform into a material one, I say a non-life cell into life. What do we need from time, the universe, movements, and Wu in order for this to be achieved? And whether this is possible or not possible. And if you do not rest, put your mind to the fold. Suppose we hand over with you all the 4 questions. What are you folding? We are now talking to 2 people, and I reassure him only. Now I have not found a teacher who has spoken about the theory of evolution and a teacher who has spoken about it in the same order that resonates with the students who say what exists for the consolation. I am not one of those who claim to start from scratch. I am starting from where others started. And whoever claims to start from scratch is zero, because science cannot have a divine connection. For heaven to start from scratch is a right because it is connected to the meaning of eternity. But you and I, as long as we are in this world, cannot start from it from scratch because we have created. Help us, the light of your wave, but man also has the ability to mislead things. This is the messenger of God. I sent him because he wished for cunning. I respond appropriately to it. These are the brothers of the prophets who preceded them. I am very disappointed in me or another. I am the master of the prophets. And the messenger, of course, with Azan. He delivered sermons to the humble, our atheists. He delivered sermons to the religious people who are accustomed to meeting. Rather, he did not have some tunes. They consider you. Say, our master, this is our departure from the topic. I am saying to them, so much so that you have a good explanation. He turned around and said, which state do I assume without the matter of life? However, this for you is not based on any of the facts of science. You say that science is capable of making falsehood that matter is other than life. It was transformed into the matter of life. I established the delight for philosophical evidence for scientific evidence. We establish philosophical evidence for the impossibility, and we will discover to you from the scientific evidence that this is possible and not possible. This comes with deception. Wait, Amulin. I am one of those waiting for you, your opinions, and your evidence, and the scientific method has not affected him, because science is only correct, as Bastian said, that every living thing is generated from 2 living things like it, and it is not possible for the concrete to exist, and the one without it is alive, and if there is a serious accident that occurs, a separation between 2 eras, the era of the beginning of the era and the era of the beginning of the era, and in revealing the secret that hides behind that accident, The whole future of mankind is intended. Here is the dividing point. Here is the point. It is the regions. Dear ones. Here are the regions. Don't mix, you have a sign to occupy yourselves. Theories of religious connivance before the most ancient creatures accept. We did not listen to you. Everything that the theories of evolution say. Man is the duration or the fear of duration. This research here says that a person should turn to the duration or to turn to the spirit of any of course. We go from the morals of the fear of duration. The central point. Therefore, in the previous research, what did you say about consolation? Therefore, the fifth question is, paradise. What did the ignorant people say? A sentence of it. What did they say? This is Maulana Alma Maqsaf Hamatina. 3 and 7373 from the Book of Consolation, the Arabic Philosophical Encyclopedia Mu'ay. The International Arab Encyclopedia, the Arab Philosophical Encyclopedia, the editor-in-chief of Ma'an Ziyada, there says that he is one of the most prominent Arab evolutionists, the debtor, the evolutionary, I believe in the theory of what did man originate according to Darwin. It is no longer a problem. Ismail Mazar or Mazar Mulan, the author of the translators of this book, who respectively opposed Al-Afghani because Al-Afghanic with its message, responded to the Ionists and accused him of whether you understood the theory or did not understand. She said, you understand the theory. The theory is confused. What is wrong with the existence of the creator, the designer, and the engineer? There is no clear evidence nor the glory of the theoretical existence of the creator. I am a believer and believer. What is this with the theory? And for what there is contradiction to prove that? My consolation evidence says that he rejected the doctrine in its entirety without understanding it, just as he responded to Al-Shabli Maulana, the one who pointed out that Ashnashna linked the doctrine of Ensh to atheism. It can be said that peace be upon Moses was one of those whom the doctrine of Ensh was spread at the end. I am that my question on this day is 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Maulana, and he is, if you remember, we said that he was Charles Darwin, the last one, except what in his life, except that he was led by, except that I know, and we read his phrase and a hoarseness from the Encyclopedia of Taufel Safal Abdul Rahman Bidil 474, he said that I have never reached anything but severe with hardship, but I believe in general that as age progresses, the performance description of the state of my mind, I don't know, Jane, that my research here is my research when the cat of this book was achieved. What does 20 years of research mean? It ended with what? With the theory of evolution, and the book was written 20 years later, meaning the year 18950. I still do not know after 350 whether he was ignorant, whether he was an atheist, or whether he believed in God, Yahweh. Unfortunately, there are things that I do not share with anyone who is glorious. I do not want to say it frankly. I did not find anyone. What am I going to tell you about their phrases, and none of them are simple phrases. Laugh at you that they are in the place of a believer who knows God. Do not believe me. I am referring to a group of very honorable people. Fun, I say to you, this is a phrase for those who read it to you. The most delicious is a phrase similar to the phrases of those who say phrases, so acquaintance with them has brought about custom by God. Daruna. I will read to you the phrase. I like it. It is between him and God. What can he conclude? What do we say? He says this phrase in 4 lines from the end of the book. That's it. I mean, Kot Majnu Kot, Mataki, my father, for 20 years, and they signed and went wrong with all my honor. Among them are those who are suffering from here, and the infirmities of Mulan. You are looking at them. This was written for them to read. And he examined them in what these fools say. Yes, in general, until we promised you to our master. Why are you? No, never. Olamak Barha. These are the ones who are obedient and move. Are there sciences in this way? Unusual people, Maulana, Arzada Adi, and no, are you even glorified? This Shaxan believes that he is a prophet. Why does Babel say that no one, Maulana, can say that he is a 25-year-old who is tampering with humanity? Mulan were a train of Maulana, the neighing of mankind. This taught Ibn Sina the easy 1,000-year Maulana, whose law combines the book with parts in knowledge, nature, artifacts, and other things. This is an ordinary human being, Maulana. It cannot be ordinary. It is not possible to read to you his phrases. Who is Maulana? E-alpha for knowledge of the wasteful. They are ungrateful. This seraph is given a search to the end of the search. Come on, the conqueror of the book, the last page, after that, to his research, to the index. Look at the rise of our biology. Look with the spelling. What is found here is complete until the words take until he is humbled. He says the tafjid and so on, 5 and 9, 5 and 10, and so on. The highest scorer in this world is a G who believes that this world is human. The scorer of his consciousness. Matter is blind to his consciousness. Matter is blind except him. No one says matter and there is no matter. He insists and decides that matter is the pillar of the scorer of consciousness. He says, the highest scorer in this world is that he is the kind of high-end animals. He says, it turns out that creation had a goal. The one who created this creation had a goal to lead this creation to what? To ascension, and to reach what to what? His goal is the highest, sublime creature. He has subjected to you all that is in the heavens and all that is on the earth. Whoever considers well says, and it is the emergence of refined animals, to be achieved directly. This is how this emergence was achieved from the war of nature, of refuge and death. It means natural selection. It means between me and God, this mixture began to be integrated, and the first kind occurred and the stars happened and happened. If the new lights find us, what happened is water in the stars, but this selection of nature is one of the most important factors of them. It is refuge and death, and the fragmentation. For the last bit of the phrase, listen, he is there in this world and this universe. There is beauty and majesty in this view of life with these many powers. You breathed the first creator once in a small number of forms or in one form. If we take the first life from the one who breathed life into it, the creator, then we attribute to Darwin the problem that this deaf desert faces, and it does not face a sweet one. It was mentioned that he is the creator around it from what the stage of the term has blessed, changing life to mad jinn, but the self-generating process is the property of the term, and there is no calcification in the range, and I breathed into it from the spiritual, and this is armed with a fluff, armed with its religion, and it is what the shop is likely to bring to life in the villages of the knowledge of what is wrong with the religious Jews of the place, but it is less than what was corrected for this year, and medicine is the entrance and facade of Sunnah, and what was corrected for this year, especially Eid al-Abar. He says that he is a beacon of beauty, meaning in this beautiful universe, he who perfected everything he created and began. The creation of humanity is two-faced. This is two hawks. I curse it. I command every one of the Quran, in my interpretation of the Quran, to be a slave. But is the religious system the same? There is beauty and majesty in this tone of life. It has no purpose. It must show the purpose to a higher being with the power of the many that we understand. A creator for the first time in a small number of images, but rather in the image of one, i.e. Jinnu, meaning no Khalil Khalil, the first image of Adi Ajna Khalil, the first simple verse, restricted, and there is no restriction in it, and so on. It is believed that all of them are because the worshippers of Minyan from 5 forms became 5 million new from one form, less than one form in a small number of forms or in one form, and that while this planet continue to rotate in accordance with the laws of the descending Gadbiya and the folds of Aksabat continued, it is right for the readers to say that there is a fata. And there is no day. Indeed, I am innocent. But I did not want to say anything about the 4 graveyards now. I mean, what about after us? In the 5th catastrophe, while this planet continued to rotate according to the laws of the descending Gadbiya, you were and are still evolving from those who prayed that simple beginning. What does that mean? Simple Hebron from the place of prayer of that misery. From the beginning of the simple life, you develop endless images of life. I mean, while, if that cost, the religious world responds and feels what it is like for each other. And here. And you are like me and while who you read, and that is why I said that while God did not embark on the theory of piety for the promiscuous person who violates religion with you, you are free from the theory. You are from what I convey. Yes, if you can, we will gather a group of scientific readers that say while God, this is the issue that he says here is a prophet, it is a problem, what is wrong with it? It's a problem of sorts that should be developed into something that you really don't want to tell me about. What is the system and what is it like? False, this is his companion, this is what he says. This caused the hive to start from one of those who, as for God, made it small. I mean, you are a king's Jayaf and we are more generous than the king. A good hat. I turned on his sleeve. He said, and it is still evolving from such a simple beginning. Pictures because it is what life is so beautiful. This is between you and us God. What is the blind extent? This is so beautiful and so great. Man stands in amazement and bewilderment. What kind of system should this rule over this creation? Yes, it is amazing, but it is the daw of genes buried on pride, then no. He says to someone who says that it is one disease that comes. He says that there is one disease, and God has shown us 2 diseases that it is a disease and one who escapes. No, yes, he wants to take a step forward, to the back, and he says to a house and we can go beyond Hebron, alive and hibernating development. I am a scepter, what is really a hat? Let us listen to a house, let us listen to a disease and buried genes before it, to see whether he was able to solve the problem or he